Hi, I'm Glenn Whipp with the Los Angeles Times. We're continuing our Emmy Contenders chats, and joining us today from the Twilight Zone reboot on CBS All Access, Adam Scott.
Hey,
Welcome
Glenn.
back.
Thank
Hey.
you. Happy to be here.
So is this the kind of, you're in Nightmare at 30,000?
30,000
If
feet.
they bumped up the feet 10,000.
That's right.
I guess that was your first question as an actor.
It was my first demand as an actor. This has got to be 10,000 feet higher than William Shatner.
Yeah, it's got to be bigger.
Yep.
Yeah.
I need a cardigan, and it needs to be 10,000 feet higher. Those two things.
And they were amenable to satisfying
Absolutely.
that. Okay.
Yeah, I think planes just fly a little higher these
Right.
days.
Yeah.
I guess.
I've never paid attention to I was driving here today thinking, well, I've never really paid attention to when the captain's like, yeah, we're cruising at blah, blah, blah altitude. And
I have a superstition where I was just flying a couple days ago, and whenever there's an announcement, I just press pause on whatever I'm watching or listening to and just remove the headphone a little bit. Just karmically, I feel like I should know what's going on just in case they're slipping in some vital information. But it's always the same stuff.
so when they're explaining at the beginning of the flight where the emergency exits are, and
I don't pay attention to that. That's
seems
pretty
like
locked in. It's important information.
When you're talking about superstitions, though, I always pay attention to that because I
Oh.
feel like if I don't, the plane's going down.
Right. Also, if you see someone famous on the flight, you feel safer. Do you do that?
Yeah.
I
I saw
definitely do
Steven Tyler coming back from the Toronto Film Festival one year, and I knew the plane would not go down because Steven Tyler
gonna
seems
live forever.
indestructible. Yeah.
I remember seeing Liv Tyler on a flight in 1996, I think, and feeling very safe.
Okay.
And I moved right on past into coach. At the time, she was in a luxurious first-class seat.
So if we take nothing else from this conversation, if you're flying on a flight with the Tyler family, a member of it,
You're good.
You're
Yeah.
good. Is this show, Twilight Zone,
Yeah.
you're a dude of a certain age.
Yeah.
I'm guessing this was like somehow like a thing for you when you were a young man.
100%. I discovered it when I was probably about 11 years old, right around the time that the Twilight Zone movie came out. I was discovering the Twilight Zone, 10, 11 years old. So for me, the John Lithgow version of this story was more my touchstone because not only did I go see the movie like the weekend it came out, but we had the VHS of the movie. So that's the one I've seen 100 times.
Right.
The Shatner one is incredible, and I've certainly seen it. But for me, the Lithgow one is the one that's like tattooed on my brain.
Directed by George Miller.
Yeah, George Miller. It's incredible. And the creature in that one's incredible as well. You're
You're throwing a little shade at the creature in the Shatner one.
The creature in the Shatner one, though, makes a cameo in my episode of Twilight Zone.
It's pretty great.
I don't know why the creature from the movie didn't make a cameo, or maybe it does, and none of us have noticed it. It was on every night at 11 on a local station in Santa Cruz where I grew up. So I would just be waiting all day for this new episode at night, at 11 every night. And then Johnny Carson, then Letterman. I would just watch television every night until the stations shut off, which they don't do anymore. But you remember
Until they're playing the anthem.
Yes.
And it's just like, and you.
Yep. Good night. After Later with Bob Costas, they would switch it off.
So you were watching them, because at this time, and this is around the movie, you're not able to pick up a DVD.
No.
And so you're just watching them as they're broadcast on this syndication.
Yes, although my next door neighbor, a guy named Joe Ferrara, ran the comic book store in Santa Cruz called Atlantis Fantasy World that ended up being the comic book store in the movie The Lost Boys. So I would go to this store every day to get comic books, and then we moved into a house that was next door to Joe, and Joe had every single Twilight Zone on VHS, which at the time, there was nowhere else you could access all of these. So whatever I was missing in syndication at night, I could go over to Joe's and he would just let me pick whatever Twilight Zone I wanted to watch.
That's a resource.
Yeah, it was great. So
what was it about the show that captured your imagination as a young man?
yeah, I think that it's the same thing that captures my imagination now when I see something that is satisfying for me, storytelling wise, like the movie Us that Jordan Peele directed and wrote. It was very Twilight Zone-y to me, as was Get Out. These movies that are satisfying emotionally, but also are taking you on all these twists and turns and kind of bending your mind a little bit, while at the same time kind of saying something about where we are.
Yeah.
It does all of these things, a hat trick of keeping all these balls in the air at the same time and being really, really fun. That's one of my favorite things about the Twilight Zone, is that it was always really fun, really entertaining, but also was taking you in these directions that you were never expecting, and saying something important as well, but not preaching at you or pounding you over the head with it.
In the best ones, yeah.
In the best
Occasionally they would step over the line.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I mean, I have no idea how many episodes that your friend had on VHS tape. But
Yeah.
I mean, there were a lot. You're not going to hit every
ton.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were a half hour, and they covered a lot of ground in that.
Right.
Back then, they probably had 27 minutes. Now you have 21 and a half, but that's a short amount of time to tell a great story. But yeah, there were a ton of them.
So what's your favorite ones? You must be asked that all the time.
Yeah, I think my favorite one is a kind of stopwatch, where the guy finds a stopwatch and he's able to stop time and gets really greedy. The Burgess Meredith one.
Time Enough at Last.
Yes. That's
Time Enough at Last.
Yes. And then
to
he
read
breaks
all
his,
these books.
He breaks his glasses.
Yes. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. I just want to ruin it for whoever wants to watch it.
60-year-old episode. But
That's right.
Still.
What about you? What do you have?
I mean, that Time
favorites?
Enough at Last
It's
is
perfect.
Because, and it feels like that one doesn't age, because now we have even less time.
I know.
To read and do the things, solitude sort of thing. So it's even more poignant, I think.
Yeah, I think a lot of what Rod Serling was, where his mind was at the time. In Night Gallery, he was less concerned with this stuff. That was more, it never worked as well for me, because the stories, there were some interesting ones, but it was more kind of individual sort of mysteries and horror stories. This was, he was commenting a lot about like groupthink. There's a lot of episodes where there's this mob mentality, you know.
That's aged really well.
Really well.
Yeah.
And which is why I think that what Jordan and Simon and those guys are doing with Twilight Zone now is the perfect time to bring these stories back and come up with new ones.
So they ask you to be on an episode.
Yeah.
And it's not, we talked about the predecessors, but this episode, yours, is not, it's not a remake, it's just kind of a reimagining. It puts a harried person on a flight. He's not afraid of flying.
Right.
He's just got some serious, he's almost PTSD kind of issues, right?
Yeah, he's a journalist and was kind of fresh from a harrowing experience.
And he's heading to Tel Aviv, right?
Heading to Tel Aviv, of all places.
So he's not really learned his lesson, it doesn't
Not
seem
really.
like. Yeah.
But he...
Which may be the problem.
Maybe the problem. It feels like he needs to prove it to himself that he's fine, he can stay relevant and keep working. But the moment he gets on the flight, he's almost looking for things to be stressed out and worried about, and kind of immediately finds them.
Yeah.
Because picks up this this old MP3 player, this weird kind of quasi iPod, and just immediately kind of dives into this. Can't tell if it's a paranoid fantasy or if it's impending doom.
But he becomes convinced that he alone
Yes,
can save this flight from
Yes.
going down.
that's right.
Yeah.
Which is another sort of recurring theme in Twilight Zone, as sort of the man against the world. Sometimes someone that's utterly convinced of something, and are they insane or are they the only one that knows what's going on?
Right. And I think what was great about the original show, and this one too, is sometimes they're right,
Yeah,
sometimes they're not.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. What's been your nightmare flight?
Oh man,
What's your worst airplane experience?
that's such a good question. You know what? Once I was on a flight, it was going to Miami. It was like a vacation trip. It was a while ago, but we came down for a landing. It was a bit of a rough landing, and we came down and touched the ground and then immediately went straight up into the air. They needed to do it over again, I guess. I think we were running out of runway or something, but we actually touched the ground and then just pulled straight up, and it sort of felt like we were going to go up and then just circle around and just land. Like, it was terrifying.
It's going to go up and make a loop and then just
Yep.
come back around.
Which we did. We
Yeah.
came back around and landed just fine.
Wow.
But
Okay.
holy shit, it was scary. I just had a very turbulent flight down to Mexico recently, but turbulence now doesn't really bother me the way it used to, because like anyone, I just keep my eye on the flight attendants, which they receive training on how to not look freaked out if they're really freaked out, but they're my barometer.
Because you can tell as an actor, you're looking for those little tells.
Yeah,
in the,
I think I can tell if they're pretending or
yeah,
not.
yeah. Do you have when you're flying someplace? Do you have like something to get you through those hours? You're an actor. You fly a lot.
Yeah.
What do you do on an airplane?
I
Just talk incessantly to the person next to you, or
That's right.
yeah.
I love telling my stories. No, I
From the middle seat, so you.
That's
can
right.
have both people.
I want everyone to know what's going on with me.
Yeah.
No, I pretty quickly put on the noise canceling headphones, and I love watching television. So I always have stuff downloaded, and I just start watching stuff. I love having 6 hours to just
Right.
be cut off from the world and watch stuff. It's it's kind of great.
Because we were talking earlier, you have kids,
Yeah.
12 and 10. Is that
12
what
and
you
10,
said?
yeah.
So yeah, that me time
Yeah.
sometimes. I mean, who likes to fly? But then again, you got that chunk of time.
Yeah, and now they're at the age now where they're terrific travelers, and
Oh,
they also have their ritual when they get in.
Right.
You
So
know,
you don't have to play. You don't have to interact with them at all. You
that's
don't have
right.
to-
You can just cut each other out of your 6-hour travel time.
But they are of a perfect age to kind of. You talked about being 11 or 12
Yeah.
when you first started watching
Yeah.
Twilight Zone. Have you like turned them on to the show now?
I have, and their introduction to it was watching my episode Nightmare at 30,000 Feet, because to promote the show, I went to Paris to this television festival, and decided to make a family trip out of it.
Nice.
So I brought my family along, and so we premiered the episode in a movie theater. And then I was there to do a Q&A afterwards. So they got to see the episode up on the big screen for their first time.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Okay.
they didn't care for it. No, they loved it, and now want to watch the show and get into it. So
The old and the new.
yeah.
Yeah.
All the old ones are on Netflix now, I believe, or Hulu. One of them.
Or CBS All Access.
Yes, they are on CBS All Access. In fact,
No, they're not a sponsor of this Contenders
let's
series,
make
but
them
they
a
could be.
sponsor.
Yeah.
Let's make that happen.
A month from now,
Yeah.
Big Little Lies returning.
That's right. Yeah.
And
June 9th, I think.
yeah. And I was just talking to a television writer who had seen the first episode.
Oh, good.
And she said that Ed and Madeline just happy as ever.
Ed and Madeline?
Yeah.
That's right.
What was it like to go back for a second season? The
It
last
was-
time we talked, you were like, we were thinking, could there be a second season?
Yeah, it was truly, there was no plan for it. All
Right.
the wardrobe had been returned and put it, like there was nothing saved. Like we had to start over with everything because it truly was a limited series that was not going to happen again.
Although at the time when we spoke 2 years ago, you were like, I think it could happen again.
Yeah,
You were like, there's more story to tell here.
I think as soon as it started catching on, it was like, well, why not?
Right.
I'm assuming that's what they thought. I certainly had nothing to do with deciding to do more.
I
But
think they listened to you on that interview.
yeah,
and
they
were like,
should, you know. But it was really, really fun, and it's obviously a terrific group of people, and unbelievably talented and cool, and I get to do all my stuff with Reese, or most of my stuff, and I love working with her, and it was really fun. It was just a blast.
I think when the first season ended,
Yeah,
obviously the women had kind of come together.
yeah,
But the men on this series
yeah.
really just kind of don't seem to be heading in that direction.
No, and I think there's my character Ed and the character of Nathan could be, maybe kind of maybe on a bit of a collision course, maybe not. I don't know, but I know that
Well,
there's
but
some
we're just
tension
gonna-
there between those two guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'll say.
That's one thing you can say.
Yes, that there's tension.
And then,
there.
and
But there
then
was in season one.
There was.
Yeah.
There was tension between Ed and Madeline in season one.
There was.
We didn't necessarily know that they were going to make it through. Or
That's right.
Actually, we didn't really even know when it ended, like what happened.
Yeah,
Other than somebody died.
that's right. It was left up in the air a little bit.
But yeah, I mean, Ed was kind of a little bit long-suffering.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. Season 2 is pretty juicy. There's a lot that happens, a lot of questions that are answered in a really interesting way. And, everything that happened at the end of season 1, those chickens are going to come home to roost at some point. They have
Right.
to.
Right.
And Meryl Streep shows up and wants to make sure that those chickens come home to roost, I think.
If Meryl wants something to happen, it's going to happen.
That's right.
Yeah. We've been asking everyone who comes through certain questions for what we call the lightning round.
Fantastic.
What's the last show that you binge watched?
Does it count as binge watching when...
Watch it every week?
Yeah. It doesn't, does it? Or
It can. It's like you're regularly watching it.
Sure.
Depends on how much time you have in your life.
I love The Good Fight. That's
CBS All Access. by the
CBS
way.
All Access. It's an incredible show. Do you watch it?
I am not up on this season.
You should. It's great, and
Yeah.
the performances are unbelievable, and it's so well written. I love The Bodyguard as well, the Netflix show Bodyguard.
That was an easy one to binge because there were, 6 episodes,
Yeah, I know.
I think.
Like any British show
Right.
that's excellent,
Yeah.
there's barely any episodes. You're done in one night.
Right. They know how to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and Game of Thrones obviously is so much fun right now.
Well, that leads into the next question. Who is going to win Game of Thrones?
It's a good question.
You're getting the advantage. You're you're 4 episodes into this
Yeah.
final season. What do you think?
I can't believe there's only 6 episodes this season. It's
Right.
kind of bullshit.
You feel like, well, I mean,
I want David and Dan to stop being so lazy.
Did you feel a little bit in episode 4, which, have you watched episode
Yes.
4? Okay. Did you feel a little bit that they rushed the story? Just a touch, maybe?
Oh, because they're getting
there's
down
only
to
6,
Westeros
yeah,
so
yeah,
quickly.
yeah.
I mean, King's Landing so
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah.
I feel like in season
like-
7 they were jumping ahead in time a little bit just because there was so much story to tell. I felt like they jumped ahead time-wise, but I did not feel emotionally they skipped a beat.
Okay.
I think I did notice like, oh wow, they got down there quickly.
Right.
But I think emotionally it all worked.
Maybe I'm just thinking like after the Battle of Winterfell, people earned a break, and
Sure.
Danny was like, nope.
Yeah, let's get to work. We only have 6 episodes. We have to
But
do
you're
this.
you're deflecting the question here.
What's that? Who I think
Yeah.
is going to win?
You're
I
complaining.
have a
that-
feeling about Sansa, and she's destined for greatness. She's reluctant, and isn't seeking the throne at all, but she may be the smartest of all of them. I mean, Jon Snow would be a great king. But I think it's fascinating how they're framing Dany this season as maybe not being the right one.
Right.
And her ego is getting in the way a little bit.
Right.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could keep
Who
going
do you
on
think
this
is
for
who do you think is gonna? Arya? Bran. He would be an awesome king.
He would be.
He'd be the most mellow world.
Yeah, we could use that in our lives right now.
Sure.
Just the real chill.
Oh, I would take
Yeah.
Bran over Donald Trump
Yeah.
any day.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah.
That debate would be really fun.
I'm trying to imagine that right now, and it's pretty good. What classic TV show would you have liked to have been on? You were just on sort of a
Yeah,
classic
Twilight
TV
Zone.
show.
That would have been my answer. But, you know, I love the 80s private detective slash undercover cop action series. Like I would have loved to be on Simon and Simon or Matt Houston or one of those shows. Just because Mickey Spillane's Mike Hammer was a favorite of mine. I don't know. These shows don't hold up as well as like 2019 television, but they look like they were a lot of fun to make. Magnum PI.
Right.
One of those would be really fun.
Yeah. What's the worst job you've ever had?
Show business wise, or just
Anything.
job? Let's see here. I had a job. I did quite a bit of extra work when I started. I was a background actor for a while, which I think now sets are more respectful. In the early 90s, when I started out and did background work, they weren't super nice to extras, and sometimes you see background actors being treated badly, and it's a real bummer because it's really hard work. So I was a background actor on some stuff where we were kind of pushed around. A music video that I worked I came up with it was my very first time like on a set, and I came up with a character and wore my own wardrobe and was like coming up with a whole story for me and this woman who I was sharing a table with. It was supposed to be a coffee shop, and we're in the background of Tia Carrere singing a song, and we're supposed to be conversing. And I didn't totally get that we were background for whatever reason. I thought, we're gonna be in this thing, so we need a realistic relationship, and we need to see that there's a story here. And the woman I was doing it with thought I was exhausting and an idiot, and I really dug in and I remember I had a beret on that was my own that I brought. I was very excited to be in show business.
I'm like looking this up on the phone now.
I am not in the video. You cannot see me, so all of that
Beret
for nothing.
was the last detail that really sold me on this.
That's right. It's
Wow.
the last detail that sold them on cutting around me, I think.
What are you more excited about? The Sopranos sequel? No, actually, Sopranos prequel.
Oh, the movie.
Yeah, or the Breaking Bad sequel.
I gotta say, I'm more excited about the Breaking Bad sequel. I am very excited about the prequel because that's going to be David Chase is doing it. It's going to be amazing. But I'm always a little more excited about sequels than prequels. We're splitting hairs here. Both are going to be must see. But it's the Jesse Pinkman movie. Is that right?
That's what we hear. Yeah.
I mean, if that's true.
Yeah.
That's extremely exciting
Yeah.
to find out what happened to Jesse Pinkman.
As he's driving off there.
Dude,
Yeah.
I can't
Where'd
wait.
he go?
Yeah.
Okay.
Aaron Paul is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited for both, but I'm going to lean into the Breaking Bad side of it a little bit.
Okay. Thanks for coming in today.
Thank you, Glenn.
It's great to see you again.
You too.
And for more of these conversations, you can go to latimes.com. Thanks for watching.